Dylan Gabriel and see something in Dylan Gabriel because every depth chart they've put out, Dylan Gabriel is still above Shedeur Sanders. Now, he's been injured, but there's a possibility he could play Saturday. We'll get updates throughout the week. But let's see what else is out there that the Browns are seeing that we have not, because I think objectively we all saw Shedeur Sanders, and he looked like he played the role pretty well, and yet he's fourth in the depth chart under Dylan Gabriel.
So that preseason game will be against the Eagles, but the Browns and the Eagles are having these joint scrimmages, joint practices this week, and our Sal Palantonio, who was with us earlier, is back with us as he's covering those. We talked about the Eagles earlier. Let's talk about the Browns here. Sal, what are you hearing as you were there with them from the Browns about what we all thought was a very impressive preseason debut for Shedeur?
Well, Michael, last night in South Philadelphia, I caught up with Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski. As everybody knows, Kevin Stefanski, his family is Wayne, PA. He went to St. Joe's Preps. He went to the University of Pennsylvania. He's a local guy. He took his coaching staff out to dinner at the 9th Street Market. Here's a photo of the coaching staff after dinner. And I think I texted him right in the middle of the cannoli serving at dessert because I texted him, I said, what did you think of Shedeur Sanders in his first preseason performance? And here was his text reply. Let's put it up on the screen. I want people to pay attention to two things that he says here. He did a good job operating, taking what's there, and made some plays with his feet to keep progressing, exclamation points. Two things there, very important, Michael. He did a good job operating. Translation, he looked in control. He did not turn the football over. Keep progressing. If you watch him on the All-22, which I did after the game, he drifted in the pocket a little bit too much. That's going to be natural in his first preseason game. And he was off target with some of his throws. But still, 14 of 23 and 2 touchdown passes, 106.8 passer rating. I think they are impressed with Shedeur Sanders.
And yet, we all made a big deal here about their quarterback depth chart. He is still listed as 4th on it, despite the performance that had everybody talking. What, if anything, can you tell us about that?
Well, I think Peter is correct. I think they want to see more from Gabriel. He's been injured. We might see him out here today on the practice field at the NovaCare facility a little bit against the Philadelphia Eagles. But I get the sense from Stefanski and the Browns, they don't want to fool around with the depth chart based on one preseason performance yet. They've got Flacco. They've got Gabriel. Obviously, they've got Kenny Pickett. He hasn't been able to get on the field because of a hamstring injury. And Shedeur Sanders needs to, quote, keep progressing. Now, I know, Lewis is always in game shape, but I'm sure he's been to Sarcone's Bakery during his time here in South Philadelphia. That's a favorite spot for everybody who comes to South Philly.
Sal, stay with us for part of the conversation here. Let's get to that because, look, that is a piece of this. They've got 4 quarterbacks there right now.
Yep.
Teams don't keep 4 quarterbacks. That seems extremely unlikely, right? So some decision, they're going to have to start whittling this thing down. Like it got late early on us here, right? The season's in 3 weeks. So while I understand they'll say we have plenty of time to make this decision, in actuality, it's not plenty of time. How quickly do they need to be figuring this stuff out?
Well, I think now, obviously, every rep takes on greater importance now because of just what you're talking about. Because eventually, the mode shifts from evaluation to really preparing for the regular season.
That's right.
So all those guys have to get the reps that are going to wind up playing. So I think now, again, behind the scenes, during practices, during these joint practices, would be great as if Getup was sitting there on the field and we could actually watch and see if he's starting to get sprinkled in certain situations with the ones, with the twos, getting reps with guys who are going to be there come September. Because that would tell you, okay, look, they sense the urgency too. They know that he's putting, the pressure on them as far as, hey, do we need to really start moving him up this ladder? Look, one game, you obviously maybe don't want to make a bunch of sweeping decisions off of one game, but it's on their mind. There's no doubt about it.
To your point, that's why we have Sal there. He will be seeing all that live, and you'll see his coverage all day long through all the shows here on ESPN. But what can you tell us, Peter, about what they're thinking there?
I think we all did flips over Friday night, and justifiably so. He was incredible. He looked great, and he led the team. And the swagger he had and the sideline reaction from both the star players and the backups was everything you'd want to see from a team leader. So we come in over the weekend and say, all right, Shedeur, he's in the mix. And yet, to a man, every source I speak to in Cleveland is like, all right, just slow down. Yes, he played well, but slow down. Like, let's not go overboard here, which to me tells me that there is some sort of hurdle or there is some sort of blockade here put in front of him in that QB1 role. And it might be Joe Flacco just being cemented already as a QB1, or it might be they believe Dillon Gabriel's still further along, even though Dillon Gabriel hasn't even been out there practicing because he's been injured. So to Sal's point, we might see Dillon Gabriel today. Let's see how the reps are split up. And I know everyone rolls their eyes. They also drafted Dillon Gabriel before him.
I think that's a key point right there.
Yep.
Right? After one preseason game, look, there's a reason why you drafted one guy in the third and one guy in the fifth, because obviously organizationally you thought that this guy presented more upside than the guy you drafted in the fifth round. You think you're just going to throw in the towel after one preseason game? No, you're not going to do that. They have a personal investment in Dillon Gabriel. They haven't been able to see him on the football field yet. They're not going to just move him down the floor all of a sudden now. They're going to give him his shot. And then you hope that in the end, professionalism and the meritocracy does win out, and then if he deserves being moved up, then move him up. But you're right. You're absolutely right, Peter. They haven't seen him yet. So they're not going to knock him down yet, especially when they're the ones who picked him.
Yeah. So I would also add this. Because of how Shedeur played in his first preseason game, and Dillon Gabriel did not get out there to showcase his skill set, it puts more pressure on Dillon Gabriel now.
No doubt.
To now go out there and make sure that you don't mess it up.
No doubt.
And you allow Shedeur Sanders to now jump you on the depth chart.
No doubt.
And I'll say when it comes to Shedeur, some of the things that I really loved in that first preseason game, Greeny, his pocket awareness and just being calm at all times. You see that second touchdown throw. Hey, it's a free runner coming. Let me slide in the pocket, allow my running back to come over and pick up this blitz, but then ball placement. Having the ability to...
Here it is right here.
Slide on over to the right a little bit. Now, look how that football is low. That allows a receiver not to get kill-shotted by a safety in a tight window area throw that you have to be able to complete that pass.
Orlovsky did this tape for us the other day. Exactly that. Everything he does on this play, Dan, I'll just recite it as best I can from memory. The way he moved was perfect. How quickly he still got rid of the ball, stayed in position as a thrower with his eyes downfield, and then exactly the ball placement, hips or lower, to give his receiver the chance.
And
loved that play.
Because a lot of people knock Shedeur Sanders not being as athletic as Cam Ward or Jackson Dart. Showcasing 3rd and 9. Let me scramble, go pick up 10 yards.
See, what was interesting is that text that Sal put up that we put up on the screen for Sal from Kevin Stefanski. He said, look, he made plays with his legs, almost like he was surprised. It was amazing because he showed that plenty of times at Colorado. Like, you would think, based upon some of the narrative surrounding him, that this guy was like some kind of like iron deer out there, and he was just planted in the ground all the time in Colorado, and that wasn't the case. It's weird how narratives just take off, and then people repeat them enough, you start thinking, Shedeur Sanders can't move.
Sal,
yes, he can.
Final word from Sal, who again will be there watching the joint practices all day long. Go ahead, Sal.
Michael, real quick, to Lewis's point, every day, every rep is important. So what's happening today? Today, Shedeur Sanders and all the quarterbacks for the Browns go against Vic Fangio. And what we've seen from Vic Fangio in the practices and in the first game against the Bengals, he's mixing and matching his secondary right now, trying to figure out what's going to work and what's not going to work. There are going to be a lot of different calls, a lot of different presentations to Shedeur Sanders, and all these quarterbacks and how they react will be very, very important. Very important.
It's great to have you back, Sal. Thank you. We'll look forward to your coverage all day long. Eagles and Browns, two very interesting teams. Everything we imagined he might be, and then he wakes up Monday, number 4 on the depth chart. Explain that to me.
Greeny, I wanted to overreact too. I wanted it. He did everything you could possibly ask him to do. So you said, okay, we're throwing you out there without any first-team reps, and he was sublime. And yet, you talk to the Browns sources, they're like, slow down, guys. It was a preseason game, and we've got a lot of stuff to work on, and he's developmental. So I just speak from my sources that they weren't doing a parade through Cleveland after Friday night, even though we were. And I'm watching it, and you got Chris Rose on the call, and I'm excited hearing the excitement from the Browns broadcast. The Browns who are like, slow down. We have joint practice with the Eagles today. Dillon Gabriel might play Saturday. He's still 4th on the depth chart. So just the reality is it's not a meritocracy. For whatever we want to say that he played great in a preseason game, he hasn't elevated on the depth chart, and I don't think he's starting week 1.
We're going to go live, by the way. Sal Palantonio is covering those joint practices for us, Cleveland and Philadelphia. He'll be live with us to give us some thoughts during this hour. What is your take on Shedeur right now?
I think it'll be a mistake if they do not give Shedeur Sanders first-team reps. I'm not saying you have to put him out there with the first team, but give him that opportunity to prove to everyone, especially the front office, Andrew Berry, the owner, Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, that he can operate. And this tells me everything. When you have a player like Shedeur, who's walking into the locker room for his first preseason game, and you see one of his teammates that plays on the defensive side of the ball coming in with a boom box, basically endorsing Shedeur Sanders, and you see him on the sidelines with Myles Garrett as well, that tells me everything I need to know, Lou.
How about the quote? I believe that Myles Garrett said something about the fact that, look, we're going to need you at some point this year.
Yes.
Something along those lines. I'm not quoting him. I'm saying something along those lines. Look, he has that it factor. Players recognize it quicker than anyone. Because a lot of times, look, players just want to play with the best guys. They just want to have the guys out there that are going to help them win. They don't have any agendas. And I'm not saying Cleveland has an agenda, so people, everybody just stay calm here. But he has earned the right to take more reps with the guys who are going to be on the field come Sundays.
I agree.
He has earned that. Maybe not spot number 1 on the depth chart. That's fine. That's cool. We still have more time. But he's earned the right to get more reps. I'm hoping they give it to him.
I don't understand. There's some piece of this that is not making sense to me. Do you know how anyone who's ever flown across country, it takes a lot longer to go one direction than it does the other? Because one way you have tailwinds, the other way you have headwinds. There seems to be some headwinds that are sort of slowing the roll on Shedeur in Cleveland. They seem to be internal. I don't understand it for the life of me. There is nothing better that can happen to an NFL franchise than to find a quarterback in the 5th round. That would be a massive win, and they, for some reason, seem hesitant to be looking for it.
Seems like it, and they're there every day. We're not. We saw it on a Friday against the Panthers number 2s, and we go nuts, and it's a Friday preseason game. They're there every day. Trust me, they want the best opportunity to win. That's their jobs and their livelihoods on the line, too. And yet, when the depth chart came out on Monday, it's 4, not 1, 2, or 3.
Striggs, let me say this. So, from a receiver standpoint, you want to know what I love from my quarterback? A guy that's cool, calm, and collected in the pocket. I don't want a guy that's sporadic. I want a guy that has super confidence and knows he's that guy when he's calling the play, when he's analyzing the defense, and knows that he can make every single throw.
The draft,
That's what I love.
I said this on draft night. The draft spoke loud and clear what those headwinds, well, I shouldn't say what the headwinds are because we never, no one's actually going to really tell you exactly what they are. We can always kind of sit here and dance around the periphery and try to speculate as to why he lasted to the 5th round. But he lasted to the 5th round for a reason. And those reasons are those headwinds that you're talking about. And he's going to have to fight against them. That's the life of being a 5th, 6th, 7th rounder, a guy who's undrafted. And he's passing the test and he's earning more time. Let's just see where ultimately this plays out.
So, am I overreacting?
No.
Darn right I'm overreacting. And I'm delighted to do it. Coming up, another day.
I think Kyler takes off.
All right, and then let's talk about the Super Bowl champs. Jalen Hurts, it wasn't a sterling regular season. Obviously, the playoffs couldn't have gone better. Harry, do you expect a slump or a jump?
I'm going to go jump, just like Chris Cross told us in the 90s. Jump, jump. Jalen Hurts will make you jump, jump. And it's because you're going to have more defenders stacking the box, right? That's going to leave man coverage one-on-one on the outside with Devontae Smith and also A.J. Brown. Dallas got it in the mix as well. Saquon being a receiver out of the backfield. So I'm going to go jump.
Let me give you the ultimate testament to how good and how determined Jalen Hurts has been. Kevin Petullo will be the offensive play caller for the Eagles this year. He'll be the 4th different offensive play caller that Jalen Hurts has had in his last 4 seasons. He's been the pass game coordinator each of those 4 years. So it's not like he's new to the building or new to the quarterback, but it's someone different calling the plays, and it has been that for him basically going all the way back to college. And if you listen to people who know what they're talking about, like Peyton Manning, they are very high on Jalen Hurts.
He's played so well in both those Super Bowls, but I like the way he goes about it. He calls me a lot. It asks me lots of questions. They actually run a lot of plays that we used to run, Sirianni to Frank Wright to Tom Moore, sort of that chain. And he calls me with very specific questions about certain plays. So he's a student of the game. As another example, you think, he squats 600 pounds. He can, run over guys. He can throw it a mile. But his appreciation of the cerebral part of the game is what's impressive to me and how he's taken his game to the next level. And I think the sky's the limit for this guy.
Have you ever met a more intense, serious human being than Jalen?
No.
It's almost intimidating when you're in the room with him.
All right, so it's an interesting conversation with Peyton Manning and Chris Collinsworth about the young dynamic quarterback. And now we know the football season is here because Sal Paolantonio is live on Get Up. The Eagles and the Browns are having joint practices, and Sal's going to cover both sides of them for us today. Sal, let's start there with the team you know so well. Jalen Hurts, we've talked about all the coaching turnover, obviously winning the Super Bowl MVP. How is he adjusting in year one with Kevin Patullo?
Well, Kevin Patullo is, as you mentioned, the fourth play caller in Jalen Hurts' ear in 4 years. If you go back to 6 years, it's the sixth play caller in his ear in 6 years, Greeny, and he's always had to adjust. But let me rephrase the question for you. It's really up to Kevin Patullo to adjust to Jalen Hurts, the Super Bowl MVP. And as you heard Peyton Manning just talk about, the fact that operationally, when you see Jalen Hurts up at the line of scrimmage, his ability to check with me, change the play, get out of bad plays and into good ones with Cam Jurgens and with his run coordinator, Jeff Stoutland, is amazing and was very evident during the Super Bowl. The two things that are evident in training camp is they want to be better in timing, going from huddle to the line of scrimmage. Not Chip Kelly fast, but faster on a little more consistency in the passing game.
It's so interesting to me when I hear Peyton Manning say they're running similar plays. They certainly don't look the same, right? Like when Peyton Manning runs a play, he's not a threat to run with the football. There's so many things that Jalen Hurts obviously does that Peyton Manning didn't do, and yet here's Peyton saying a lot of the concepts are actually the same, and that's the stuff that Philadelphia is running. They've been doing it behind this magnificent offensive line for the last several years. Well, there's no more Mekhi Becton. We got Landon Dickerson hurt. Is there a concern there? Is there concern about the foundation of their team, which is the offensive line?
Well, at right guard, Tyler Steen has moved in quite effectively during training camp. You never want to lose a guy like Landon Dickerson for any stretch of time. He is the highest paid guard in the NFL for a reason. Super tough, super smart, a great, great player. But when you look at last year, take a look at this graphic that we had prepared for Get Up. The Philadelphia Eagles had 28 different offensive line combinations last year, fourth most in the National Football League, and still went to the Super Bowl and won it, and still had Saquon Barkley as the leading rusher, and still had him as the offensive player of the year, and still Harry Douglas beat the Green Bay Packers twice. The Packers came close twice, but the Eagles beat them twice. And the reason is two words: Stoutland University.
Yeah,
they've got great depth, and they got a great, great offensive line coach. Stoutland University, as you can see, we got the T-shirts. T-shirts, you can get them online for Eagles Autism Foundation. This one's for Peter Schrager, so he can wear it around Manhattan. I'm going to wear this one in South Philly. We got one for Peter and one for me.
Jeff Stoutland, the outstanding offensive line coach. Sal, stay with us. Stay in the conversation here, because that's a big piece of it. And
Double XL, Sal. Thank you.
What is that? What is that? A night for you?
No,
double XL. Okay, let's get serious here, because it's interesting. I don't even know what I meant by that. Here's what
My nightie?
I started saying nightgown, and then I realized that's a ridiculous thing to say. And so let me just let's try and pretend that moment didn't happen. Okay. Here's the question I have. Brian Windhorst always says in the NBA, winning a championship means never having to say you're sorry. And that's great. So they won the championship, and Jalen Hurts was the Super Bowl MVP, and he was brilliant in that game. So it makes it easy to completely forget that there were moments during last year where we were significantly questioning the ability of this offense to throw the ball. Are those days completely behind us? The A.J. Brown and all that stuff, is that all just over and done with now because of what they proved in January and February?
Well, it is for the time being, until it rears its head again, until maybe there is some adversity that they hit as far as not being efficient throwing the football, pushing the ball down the field. Then people will bring it up again. But I think in the grand scheme of things, it's not something that Philadelphia's sweating. I don't think it's something that they're worried about. If you look at Jalen's statistics, minus 20, 23, this is a guy who's been on the up and up in terms of passer rating, completion percentage, yards per attempt. 23 is when he had a bunch of interceptions. I think he had, upwards of, 15 plus. But then he cut him way down again. I don't think there's any concern about how he, to me, is developing as a passer of the football. And I think the reason why is because of what Peyton alluded to. The fact that he studies the game, not just from an offensive perspective, but what was Peyton the master at the most? It was about knowing what you were doing before you even did it defensively. Okay, being able to predetermine coverage rotations, really be able to see through disguises and all. And I think that is some of the stuff that will always be a work in progress with quarterbacks. It's going to be a work in progress with Jalen. He's going to have his stumbles. And the wide receivers, as we know, they want the rock all the time. They don't want any excuses. There's going to always be a little bit of friction. But this guy is on a nice, steady trajectory, just as he kind of like really puts forth as a person, and nothing phases him. And that's the cool thing about him. You're about as comfortable with him as you are with any of these quarterbacks in terms of what you're going to get.
So Jalen Hurts is definitely going to get his opportunities this season because of Saquon Barkley and that run game. Now, it's easier said than done for the opposing team trying to limit that run game, but you better win on first and second down.
Yeah.
Because if you don't win on first and second down versus the Philadelphia Eagles, you're dead in the water. It's over for you. You're not going to stop them. So when you can win on first down and now you force a 3rd and 15, a 3rd and 9, and you can rush 4 and drop 7, you have a better chance in that capacity than playing man coverage on the outside.
Sure.
You know, Jeremy Fowler does noble work polling everyone about the top 10 quarterbacks, top 10 wide receivers. I'd be curious if Jeremy was to poll GMs and coaches around the league what they think of Nick Sirianni. I don't know if he'd be top 10. And yet for that team, he's number 1. I feel the